Trivit moi druzy. Hello, my friends. My name is Darren Gerdes. I am a professor, and I've been following what's been going on in Ukraine, and I've been trying to share with you what I've been learning so that you can understand more about the situation. I don't do the battle map kind of thing. I know that that's the up-to-date battle map is really important. I get that. I try to look at the bigger picture and look at like what's going on with leaders. So I researched the question of what influences the odds of winning a war. And then we'll just try to figure out, like, does the advantage go to Russia or does the advantage go to Ukraine for that particular thing? So the first one, it's a study from the Rand Corporation. Military capability accounts for 45% of the variance in the success rates in determining the outcome of the war. And that only makes sense, right? About half of the variance comes from military capability. So if you're capable and your enemy is not, or vice versa, you can kind of see what's going to happen there. That's the biggest factor. Now, when you're Vladimir Putin looking at you are about to attack Ukraine, you're thinking, advantage mine, right? Why? Because it was Russia versus Ukraine. He never counted on the Western allies about to infuse all kinds of weapons into Ukraine to make that even or even superior in some cases. So advantage was to Russia, and now the advantage is to Ukraine. Second, technological superiority is essential to winning in modern wars, according to the Center for the New American Security. So, technological superiority, I think it, again, if you're Putin, you're thinking, I have technological superiority, but the Western NATO allies have largely diffused that or maybe even provided more. Like the NATO allies are tracking every movement with satellites. They have every way of countering possible. It's just a matter of providing those weapons. Number three, the country with the higher GDP is more likely to win. That makes sense. This is Stockholm International Peace Research Institute. The GDP of Russia was many times that of Ukraine. The population's about 3 times the population of Ukraine, and the GDP is, I don't know, something 1 point something trillion as opposed to billion. So there's a significant gap. And again, if you're Putin, you're thinking advantage Russia. Stable political system can enable effective decision making during wartime. Now go back a few days, I talked about the stable political system, but an authoritarian system is very different than a democratic system, and authoritarian systems make mistakes. So while Putin might be thinking he's stable, he does have unity of command, but he doesn't necessarily have the ability to make better decisions. So while he might be thinking he has an advantage, that advantage actually naturally went to Ukraine before any intervention. Number 5, lack of public support can lead to a decrease in military recruitment, decreased morale among soldiers, and difficulty in securing funding for the war, according to the National Defense University. Okay, so that's an interesting one. Public support, he can kind of manipulate the media and keep his public support, and he did this in a very interesting way in Ukraine. He called it a special military operation and said, it's nothing to see here, it's just this special military operation. And by making it to be a small thing, he actually kept the public support because it wasn't really affecting them until mobilization. Now, I would have thought, now this was very interesting, I would have thought that mobilization, now mobilization chased 1 million men out of the country, right? They fled. I would have thought that the death toll would have caused decreased support, but it appears, and this is only early estimates, and I saw this on CNN just the other day, the death toll is actually, as body bags start coming in, the Russian population is supporting the war even more now that it's costing them something, and it's a very strange thing. But public support is a very important factor. Number 6, superior intelligence capabilities can provide a significant advantage in wartime. Okay, that is from the National Bureau of Economic Research. Now, Putin is thinking Russia against Ukraine. He's not thinking Russia against the entire West. And so he's thinking he has the upper hand. He really doesn't. He does when it's just against Ukraine, but he really doesn't. I mean, U.S. technology, let alone all of NATO's technology, is vastly superior. Next, number 7, effective leadership can make a difference in the outcome of the war, according to the United States Army War College. Okay, that makes sense. I can buy that. And again, Russian assumptions were Zelensky's going to flee. I think the entire West's assumptions were that Zelensky was going to flee. And I think Zelensky, again, Russian assumption initially, it's going to be point to Russia. But what actually happened massively in favor of Ukraine when he decided to say, I need ammunition, not a ride, and decided to stay in country in Kyiv. Number 8, effective logistics is critical to sustaining a war effort, according to the National Defense University. I don't think Putin had any idea just how bad his logistics were going to be, just how corruption had eaten the Russian war machine hollow. And so, for that reason, I think he thought, I have it together. Ukraine doesn't have it together. Remember, they're a bunch of corrupt folks too. So, I don't think he saw it. But the logistics were just eating Russia alive. Number 9, international support can be a critical factor in the outcome of a war. This is from University of California, Los Angeles. That's where the citation is here. And international support is clearly in Ukraine's favor. Now, what Putin was counting on was that the rest of the world would do what they did in 2008 and yawn, and 2014 and say harsh words, and that's not good, but it would be a fait accompli by the time that they got around to actually doing anything. They would control Ukraine, it would be a done deal. But international support has been vehement and strong in support of Ukraine. So that's another one. And then finally, high morale among soldiers can also provide an advantage in war. This is from the Naval War College. And Napoleon said the moral is to the physical, and he's talking about morale. The moral is to the physical as 3 is to 1. Advantage is clearly to Ukraine. But again, Russia originally would have thought, yeah, we're going to walk in and they're going to hand us roses and it'll all be great. And it didn't work out anywhere near his assumptions. If you want to hear more about Putin's assumptions on this, I'd go back to this episode right here, and that will provide you with everything you need to recognize why it was such a costly, terrible mistake to invade Ukraine. Thank you for your time, and thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine. If you want to support my channel, you can give me a thumbs up, you can buy me a coffee, or you can donate to one of the charities I've listed below.